Speaking of, I should probably talk about Goggle 5 at some point. When did my shirt change?
Dai Sentai Goggle 5.
Not so great. Dai Sentai Goggle 5.
Hello and welcome to Earth Alien ProtoMet. After the revival of Super Sentai thanks to Battle Fever J, Denshi Sentai Denziman, and Taiyo Sentai Sun Vulcan, Toei's partnership with Marvel came to an end, leaving the then fourth entry in the Super Sentai series under Toei's control. 1982's Dai Sentai Goggle 5 was the first series to be headed by main writer Hirohisa Soda, who would go on to write all subsequent seasons until 1990's Chiku Sentai 5-Man. So, how does this big debut in Super Sentai hold up? Let's find out.
After the dark science empire Death Dark, an evil ancient civilization that utilized dark science, revives in the modern day of the early 1980s, the Japanese government utilized specially trained children, the computer boys and girl, to select suitable adults to join a defense team to combat Death Dark as Dai Sentai Goggle 5.
Funny story, when I first watched this particular series, it was thanks to some very bad subtitles. As a result, one of the horribly mistranslated episode titles has stuck with me to this day. The 7th episode, Daddy Turns Into a Ghost, was horribly mistranslated into Pope is a Ghost. Unfortunately, that's one of the very few positives I have to say about this series.
Though it's stated that the gems on their helmets represent ancient civilizations, perhaps to act as a counter to Death Dark itself being an ancient civilization, this connection to the past is only surface deep and is never referenced again after its first mention. This leaves the team without any real theme to them like other Super Sentai teams, aside from the fact that they use gymnastic equipment as weapons. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's really the only thing that separates them from other teams. Not even the fact that it features the first Black Ranger seems to matter, because despite being considered a Green Ranger, Battle Kenya certainly looks like a Black Ranger. And he came out 3 seasons earlier. In general, the team, even down to its individual members, feels like it lacks an identity, resulting in Goggle 5 feeling incredibly generic. What about the computer boys and girl who support them? Well, aside from doing computer work for the team, the kids are otherwise portrayed as though they were just ordinary children. The show never indicates that there's anything special about them. In fact, when thinking about the series, I often forget that they even exist. And then there are the villains. It's stated that Death Dark uses dark science, but what does that even mean? Is it a science that exists separate from regular science, or is it just regular science that's used for evil? More often than not, it's just depicted as the latter, albeit seemingly more advanced than humanity's then current science. The leader of Death Dark, Führer Taboo, remains hidden behind a thin sheet of plastic for the majority of the series, and when his true form is finally revealed, it's pretty much how you expect him to look. Why this seems to surprise his underlings is beyond me. Serving under him are General Deathkiller and his subordinate, Mazurka, who just look like generic tokusatsu villains. Like, if you were to see an anime referencing tokusatsu, their designs would probably show up to represent the villains. They're so generic. Unfortunately, aside from Taboo, they're the villains who appear in the most episodes. There's also Doctors Zazoria and Iguana, who make the giant robot Kongs that the Monsters of the Week, the Mozus, pilot. But they're killed off pretty early and are replaced by an even eviler Grand Marshal Deathmark, who shows off his vile villainy by sitting around doing absolutely nothing, yet still acting superior to everyone but Taboo. And don't even get me started on his handmaidens, Bella and Beth, who do even less than he does. Going back to the Mozus, they're little more than animal-themed cyborg monsters who are given special powers based on abilities the animals are either known to have or are rumored to have. but it ends up feeling like the evil plots are concocted to go along with the monster's abilities rather than the monster being made to suit the plans. That would be fine if not for the fact that all the Mozus are created as needed, so why they don't just create a monster to go with a specific plot is beyond me. And getting back to the topic of this season feeling generic, the Kongs being robots piloted by Mozus was interesting, back when it was done in Battle Fever J. And on the hero side, to combat the Kongs, Goggle 5 utilizes Goggle Robo, which is only ever piloted by 3 of the 5 members of the Goggle 5 team, which was done in the previous season Sun Vulcan, yes, but that team only had 3 members. So what do Goggle Pink and Goggle Black do while Red, Blue, and Yellow are piloting the robot? Heck if I know.
But for as generic as the series is, I wouldn't necessarily call it bad. It is still very much watchable, and I kind of forgive how generic it is, given that it was still pretty early in the Super Sentai series, and it was the first season written mostly by Soda, so he probably decided to play it safe before stretching his creative muscle on later seasons. Dai Sentai Goggle 5 is not awful, but revisiting it just reminds me of how bland I feel it is. I can't recommend it, but I won't judge you if you do enjoy it. Until next time, I'm ProtoMet. See ya!